Hello, myself Ashish from Group 4, and today I will explain you about Louis Bacon and his philosophy. Francis Bacon was born on 22nd January 1561 and died on 9th April 1626. Francis Bacon was also known as Lord Verulam. He was an English philosopher and statesman who served as Attorney General and as Lord Chancellor of England. His works are credited with developing the scientific methods and remained influential through the scientific revolution. Francis Bacon had main interests in natural philosophy and philosophical logic. Francis Bacon has been called the father of empirism. In philosophy, empirism is a theory that states that knowledge comes only or primarily from sensory experience. In one of the several views of epistemology, along with rationalism and skepticism, empirism is the philosophy of science, emphasizes evidence, especially as discovered in the experiments. It is fundamental part of the scientific methods that all hypotheses and theories must be tested against observations of the natural world rather than resting solely on prior reasoning, illusions or relativism. Francis Bacon's philosophy is displayed the vast and varied writings he left, which might be divided into three great branches. First is scientific works, in which his ideas for a universal reform of knowledge into scientific methodology and improvement of mankind states using the scientific methods are presented. Francis Bacon is considered one of the father of modern sciences. He proposed at his time a greatest reformation of all processes of knowledge for the advancement of learning divine and human. He called it as instaurato magma, which means the great instauration, the action of restoring or renewing something. He also divided the great reform in 6 parts. First is partition of the sciences, then new methods, third is natural history, fourth is ladder of the intellects, fifth is application of the second philosophy, and sixth is the second philosophy or action sciences. On the second branch, his philosophy was divided into religious and literary works, in which he presented his moral philosophy and theological meditations. The third is judicial works, in which his reforms in English law are proposed. He considered law's fundamental task to be: first, to secure men's persons from death; second, to dispose of the property of their goods and lands; third, for prevention of their good names from shame and infamy. He also expressed his views in public speeches. On 26 February 1593, in one of the public speeches, he said that laws are made to guard the rights of the people and not to feed the lawyers. The law should be read by all, known to all, put them into shape, inform them with philosophy, reduce them in bulk, give them into every man's hand. And today also we use these laws, and today also not only the people depend on the lawyers, but some of the people, they by themselves know the laws and they follow it. In Novum Organum, the new instrumentality for the acquisition of knowledge, Francis Bacon classified that intellectual fallacies of his time under 4 headings, which are called as idols. An idol is an image, in this case held in the mind, which receives veneration but is without substance in itself. Francis Bacon also gave the 4 idols. Bacon described as the 4 idols, which are the idols of the tribe, the idols of the cave, the idols of the marketplace, and the idols of the theatre. According to Bacon, these 4 idols prevent us from progressing in scientific investigation.
Hello everyone, my name is Snehashish Karmakar. My topic is history of philosophy. Descartes' meditation 1. Rene Descartes' meditation, it consisted of six topics. First is I doubt. Second is therefore I exist, a thinking thing. Third is God exists. Fourth is reliability of reason and problems of error. Fifth is necessary truth regarding material truth or material bundles. Sixth is contingent truth about material existence. Well, the essence of his meditation, or the abstract idea that he is trying to put into the reader's mind, is in his first meditation, Descartes embarks on a journey to ensure that all his beliefs are true. He deems that he must rid himself of all false knowledge in order to obtain any true knowledge. Descartes decides to doubt everything he has previously held to be true. He will rely on reasoning ability to rebuild his own knowledge, beginning with the things of which he is completely certain. He states, "But no reason now persuades me that I should withhold my assent no less carefully from opinions that are not completely certain and indubitable than I would from those that are patently false." Descartes refuses to accept anything that is possible to doubt. His reason for doing so is because he truly believes that this is the only way to discover the possible existence of something that cannot be doubted. While the text is at times muddled, Descartes does use a method in his attempt to acquire knowledge. He starts by defining everything he could possibly doubt. He presents the argument of sensory deception. In his life, the things he has accepted as true are things he has learned through his senses. In his meditation, he rejects knowledge that which he has learned through his senses because he claims that the senses can often deceive. But while the senses are deceitful in some cases, Descartes claims that there are certain things learned through the senses that would be crazy to doubt. For example, he simply describes what he is wearing and what he is doing at the time he is writing the meditation. He uses his senses in order to write his description, and he claims he would have to be insane to doubt what he is saying. Next is meditation 2. In meditation 2, he discovers something impossible to doubt. I think, therefore I am, was his notion or statement. Foundation for Descartes' philosophy. Even if he were deceived by some malevolent being, something must exist to be deceived. Doesn't know who he is or what he is, but he knows that he is. He deduces that he is a thing that thinks, foundation of dualism, and he believes in two different substances, corporal body and mind of immaterial. At the beginning of meditation 2, Descartes is in diabolic doubt, which means he can be certain of nothing, not even his own senses. In meditation 2, Descartes aims to find some piece of knowledge that he can survive the evil genius hypothesis and act as his foundation for knowledge. Descartes argues that even if an evil demon is deceiving him, something must exist in order to be deceived. The very fact that Descartes can be deceived proves that exist. It doesn't prove that he has arms or legs, but it proves that he exists as a thinking thing. The cogito or cogito ergo sum is a certain truth. This means it is beyond doubt. Similar truths include a prior knowledge, such as bachelors are unmarried men. It would be contradiction to say I don't exist, because you must exist in order to think you don't exist. It means the cogito is itself sufficient. The cogito is the one thing that Descartes can be certain about. It is important in his philosophy because he can use it as his foundation for knowledge. The cogito is what Descartes will build the rest of his knowledge on, just like a builder would use the foundations of a house to put the rest of his house on. Descartes discovers the cogito using doubt alone. This is where Descartes begins to show that doubt is better approach than certainty. In his second meditation, he has also linked the topic of solipsism of present moment. There are 3 points in relation to this. I know I exist, discontinuity of my own consciousness, the problem of memory, and he declares memory to be a present representation of past consciousness. Notion of thinking thing. The philosophist David Hill claimed in one of his statements that we are aware of ideas, we are aware of bundle of awareness that we call mind. It has been said that dreaming is a state of consciousness but not consciousness itself, and the causal agent of argument are existence of the mind and the actual ideas that I have. The existence of mind has two factors: the agent that act in consciousness and ideas, and the finite fallible contingent thinking. The ideas are usually of two forms: the ideas which are factious, which are voluntary in nature, in the sense of voluntary means which can be put into action, and the ideas which are adventitious. These are involuntary actions which are in turn, there is a certainty of becoming voluntary through certain agents of action, but not directly. So in the direct form they are involuntary. Thank you.
Myself Geeta Biswas from Group 4. Now I will explain you about Descartes' meditation 3 and 4. In the third meditation of René Descartes, he establishes the principle that anything which can be clearly and distinctly perceived by natural light is true, and uses this to establish the God exists. In meditation 2, Descartes establishes that he in fact exists after raising some concern in meditation 1. In third meditation, Descartes notes that he finds himself with an idea of God in his mind and asks what is the cause of this idea. For Descartes, a cause must have as least as much reality as it effects. Since Descartes or any other finite being has less finite reality than God, only God could be cause of his idea about God. This means for Descartes that God must exist. Descartes then wondered by way of continuation whether he could exist with his idea of God if God didn't exist. He argues that he could not have brought himself into existence, for only a perfect being could do this, and he recognized that he is not perfect. That's very modest of Descartes, but let's remember that he claims to have written mediation on the first philosophy in 6 days, very much like someone else who created his world in such a time span. Descartes could have been brought into existence by his parents, but this merely focuses us to ask how they come into existence. Eventually, we will need to recognize a being with a higher degree of reality. So, God must exist to be the cause of our existence. As for the idea of God, we know it can't be an invention of my mind, since my mind is limited and God is not. It could be something I have picked up from others, but these two forces the question of whether they got it from. Descartes concludes Meditation 3 with the assertion that we are born with the idea of God. God Himself places the idea of Himself in us as a craftsman puts his mark on his work. In fourth meditation, Descartes investigates how it is that we can make mistakes. This should be understood in relation to meditation 1, in which he doubted everything he knows and gave strong evidence to not being able to trust our knowledge since we are always in possible errors. Meditation 2 and 3 reconstructed our assurance of reality, but in now remains to be understood how it is that we make mistakes. Since God is perfect as suggested in Meditation 3, He cannot be deceiving me as suggested in Meditation 1. For the same reason, He could not have given me some faculty of making mistakes, such as misjudging or misapprehension. Similarly, nor could have He given me imperfect faculties for detecting the truth. Finally, for Descartes, it must be in God's power to have made me such that I never erred. Yet it is obvious that I do make mistakes. How it is? For Descartes, in Meditation 4, it is because of difference between the understanding and the will. When I consider I exercise my will, or I must choose what I am to judge and what to do it, and then my understanding in making the judgment. So, as long as I use my understanding correctly, I will never make mistakes. For God has given me a faculty of clear and distinct perceptions. That is partly why Descartes is credited with fathering science. Mistakes arise when my will extends beyond my understanding, when I make a judgment without subjecting what I am judging to understand my understanding. This is what occurs when we jump to conclusions, trust appearance, and choose without thinking of the consequences. For example, should we say that God's error lies in giving me such a will? No, for God has given us free will, which is a sign of His benevolence, and free will does not come in degree. So it is not as if He could have given us two faculties, the understanding and the will, whose limits exactly coincide. After devoting Meditation 4 to explaining why we make mistakes and how we can avoid them, Descartes' Meditation 5 takes us to our relationship with the material world. Also, question in Meditation 1 where we meet God again. Thank you.